Hello and welcome to Saving People Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where we talk about road trips, ghost, and free will through every episode of the TV series Supernatural.
Today, we are pulling up to season 4 with episode 11, Family Remain. I'm Abigail, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Sam. My pronouns are she, her.
It's been a while since you and I have been just us on an episode.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Me too. If you've joined us recently, you might not know that our very first episode, back when we were called Driver Picks the Podcast, was actually just Sam and I. Sam was one of my original co-hosts back in the early days, and I know our team's a lot bigger now, but...
Yeah, way back to season 1.
Yeah.
OG team.
And OG team for life. Sam is also my sister, so thanks for being back for this episode, which, despite its name, is a lot less heartwarming than it might appear.
Yes.
It's the very macabre meaning of Family Remains.
Yeah.
But my question for you today, Sam, is if you were going to escape to the countryside to escape something in your life, where would you go? Where would be your
Ooh, to the countryside. Like where in the
you
world?
could take that metaphorically. Where would you escape to if you were going to go and start a new life?
Ooh. I do like the countryside and just a little, I like the idea of going to a little farm, just having my live off the land with my little garden, have some little animals.
Yeah, have a wife, a garden, and some animals, and You'd be happy.
Yeah. Some little children running around.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah. That sounds quite pleasant.
Yeah.
I like the idea theoretically of the countryside, but I think I'd also be a little bit bored if I was too far away from a city. So I'd probably, a little English village sounds super nice.
That'd be cute.
Just literally escape the country.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Now that you've met both of us, it's time to catch you up. If you haven't watched Supernatural recently, here's what you've missed on the road so far. First up, Abigail is going to recap the show so far. Are you ready?
Okay. I am going to recap all of season 3 and, maybe some relevant stuff from previous seasons. We'll see how much I fit into the 30 seconds. You can count me in.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Dean was in hell, but then he was rescued by the angel Castiel, who said God has plans for you. Turns out the plans are to stop the apocalypse, which is that a bunch of seals are being broken to try and free Lucifer from hell. They meet an angel named Anna who has a thing for Dean, kind of makes Cass jealous, and Sam, something is really up with Sam. They're working with Ruby, and there's some things he's not telling Dean. Oh, and also Dean does remember hell.
Nice. Wow. Well done.
I feel like there were some things that I missed, but they went back in time. That was important. I should have remembered that, considering the Winchesters is airing right now. I should have remembered that. Oh well. Well now, Sam, are you ready to recap this week's episode?
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the boys go to this house in the countryside that this family has moved into, and they think that there's this girl in the walls who's a ghost, but it turns out that she's not a ghost. She's not even a monster. She's just a human girl who has been trapped there and locked up and tormented. And interspersed, there's some tension between the boys.
Yeah.
And there's more than that, but
we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the more than that now. But before we talk about it, we're going to pick some music to accompany us on our journey. We are building a season 4 mixtape, and we're going to add some songs to it this week. What do you have to add, Sam?
I chose the song Broken Home by 5 Seconds of Summer.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I thought it was kind of fitting with the whole storyline of what happened with the girl living in the walls, who they thought it was, she had died and it was her ghost, but it turns out that she is very much alive, and it's just this very tragic story of her
family trauma.
Yeah, family trauma, and
yeah, good choice.
But it's a sad story.
Yeah, it is. I went with not sad, but kind of creepy, because this episode is very horror-esque sort of episode. Like, we haven't had in Supernatural for recently, we haven't had an episode that has felt as horror-y as this one. So the song I have is Hide and Seek by Liz Robinette, and it's like a creepy girl song. It's the best way I can describe it, but it kind of evokes that sort of like you're in a house and the house is haunted.
Yeah, fitting.
So yeah.
Nice. Okay, now that we have our mixtape playing, it's time to get this show on the road with today's episode, Family Remain, through the theme of temptation.
Do you have a place that you want to start with this episode?
Let me look at my notes.
I'll start while you're looking at your notes.
My notes are chaotic as usual.
That's okay. I mean, mine feel kind of chaotic this time. I realized I haven't seen this episode in a long time, and I actually feel like I've maybe only seen this episode once or maybe twice. It's one I don't go back to a whole lot because I don't actually know. I think it's a sad episode, but it's sad centering on the family, both families, like the family that originally had the house and the little girl and the brother, and then the family that's moved into the house. And I just don't feel as strongly about this episode, so I hadn't rewatched it, but it was actually quite good. I thought it was like a really, like, not fun, but a really interesting, like, monster of the week kind of episode. And we've had a lot of big plot episodes in this season, so it was kind of fun to get back to like a little bit more of like a season 1 or season 2 feeling. Yeah, I also did not remember this episode at all, but it's good. In terms of like the theme of temptation, it was a little bit of a harder one to see. One of the things I did pick up on was like the idea of like being tempted to run away from your problems and believe that if you just run away, they won't follow you. Like, this family has moved to the country to get away from the trauma that they've experienced when they like lost their child to a tragic car accident. And like, it might be true that they can run from the like physical location where that happened, but you can't run away from like the trauma that has like inflicted on you. And they're kind of mirroring that with like Sam and Dean, I think, and their temptation to run away from their problems and their traumas.
Yes, that is a theme with them.
In Supernatural, really?
That's one of the notes I have as well, is the temptation to run away, specifically for Dean, because in this episode he talks about his time in hell, and he kind of tells Sam about he participated in the torture after resisting it for so long, and he like really, that's like a struggle for him. You can really tell that he's like trying really hard to not think about it, to not
really look it in the eye, and to not admit it to Sam, and to not deal with the like guilt and shame that he's feeling because of that. Like, primarily I think the shame he's feeling because of that, those choices that he made to survive. You know, he throws his whole self into like, if I can save this family, maybe I can not feel as much of that shame. But at the end of the episode, he admits that like he knows he can't run from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the big, like, there's kind of two parts to this episode. There's like the story that's happening with the families, and then there's the like undercurrent of, you know, addressing what happened in hell, which is actually fairly minor. Like, not what happened in hell is minor. How much they address it in this episode is minor. I forgot that this reveal and like the conversation that they have at the end is in this episode, because I've seen that conversation in clips like many times. But I hadn't seen, like, it's an interesting context to put it in this episode.
Yeah. I think the thing at the end of the episode that like really, that I noticed and that kind of struck me when they were having that conversation is where like Dean just he seems very defeated. And it seems like, I have a note here that says there's no more victory in saving people for him.
Ooh, yeah, that's
like, he feels like nothing he can do can make up for what he did.
And that's exactly what he says. Like, he says there's nothing.
Yeah.
No matter how many people I save, I can't ever fill that hole.
Yeah. So, you know, it feels like the satisfaction, or like the we saved the people feeling, he doesn't have that anymore.
And we know from like earlier seasons and episodes that that's so much of what drives him to hunting. Is the feeling of, you know, I mean, that's the whole saving people, hunting things. Like, the saving people is the part that I think gets him out of bed in the morning, is that no matter the awful things they see, at least they're saving people. And now he doesn't even feel like that has the same emotional, like, that doesn't bring any sort of there's no closure post hell. And I mean, that's sort of mirrored in this family as well. Both these families, like the family in the house, their trauma, the two children whose entire lives are shaped by their trauma, and their father, who they kill, who is the one who locked them up and in a lot of ways made them what they became. Like there's no escape for any of them. Like that entire family just gets wiped out by the end of this episode.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of closure. There isn't a lot of resolve.
Not in a way that gives any sort of satisfaction. Like when they have to kill the boy and the girl in the walls, it's not satisfying in the way that like putting a spirit to rest can be satisfying. Because these were just like kids who were just treated so awful that they were just trying to survive. And they had no control over what happened to them. Yeah. I remember, I don't know if you remember this episode, Sam, but back in season 1, the Benders. So that's the story of someone kidnaps Sam, and they realize that Dean figures out with the sheriff that it's this family that's been like kidnapping and hunting people. I don't know if you remember that episode. It's not one I think you like very much. So I think
probably not.
I think on our show, Jacob and I did that episode together. And one of the things we talked about is there's a little girl in that episode who's like the daughter of these like basically serial killers. And we talked about how she is also really violent, but she's also like just a victim of, her family's choices. And in a lot of ways, she just doesn't know any better than like all she's known is violence. And it's the same with these two kids, except these two kids don't get rescued. Like at the end of that episode, she gets, she's not dead. Whereas these kids, like there's no one to rehabilitate them or save them, or like, they end up killing them because they're going to kill these other people. But like they're people, just like those kids are people just as much as like the family that moved into the house is people. Like
they didn't get that happy ending. They didn't get those. I think it was also interesting when like at the end of the episode, after they like kill the girl and the brother and Sam and Dean kind of go off, Sam, they're talking about what happened, and Sam says, I'm sure her life was hell, but that doesn't mean she gets a pass for murder, talking about the girl in the walls. And Dean is like, well, like, what hell's like. And I thought that was interesting because Dean now can see more of the nuance maybe in that, where Sam is like very like black and white, like,
which is such a flip from earlier seasons.
Yes.
Like, that's a change. Like Dean being able to understand why a monster might have been doing the things that they were doing, like why him understanding that like trauma sometimes sometimes leads to you doing things that are not excusable things, but are like directly a result of your trauma. Like that's something we wouldn't have seen from Dean in earlier seasons.
No.
Like that's something we saw with Sam in earlier seasons a lot of like empathy for that, and I think it's because Sam was experiencing that in like season 2 particularly. Like he's dealing with his like powers and these things that are happening to him and around him, and he's questioning his own experiences and identity, and it's kind of a change. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, thought that was interesting.
Yeah, well, and like coming back to like Dean and the scene at the end, he admits to Sam what happened, and he goes, like I liked torturing, which I was like thinking about, because I think that's the way Dean sort of sees it, because that's the sheer sense of like relief from not being tortured was so great that is his perception of it, is that like I must have enjoyed it. But I was also just thinking about like the trauma response of all of that. Like if you're coerced into doing something for your own survival, is it even possible for you to like, it's not as simple as that. And I think Dean is putting all of that responsibility on himself to kind of go, well, I felt the things that I felt in that moment, so that must mean that I'm now responsible for like that must mean that like that shame, that mean that I can't ever get away from that guilt.
Yeah.
And I think Sam doesn't know what to do with that either. Like he doesn't really say much to that.
Yeah, I feel like he does not know what to do with it, and he's kind of in shock finding that out.
Yeah, he has just kind of been continually finding out. Every few episodes he finds out more about Dean's time in hell. And it puts this like little bit of a wedge between them because their experiences are so different of like what Sam was doing during that time and what Hell was like. It's making their experiences even more contrasted with each other.
Yeah.
This has kind of been depressing. This has been a depressing conversation. I want to move along to, unless you have more to say on those themes, I kind of want to move it along to, I want to talk a little bit about the horror elements of this episode.
Yeah.
Just in terms of design. I know, do you watch much horror these days? I was like, has that changed since we were younger?
No. I am not a horror person. Yeah, no, that hasn't
and yet
changed.
You regularly are here.
Yeah, which is really funny because I really don't like watching horror movies, so it's funny that I like this show. But I must say, I mean, the reasons I like this show is for the relationships and
the non-horror elements.
The non-horror elements, and often because in every episode, the first scene is like the like monster killing scene or whatever. I don't watch that scene.
Do you watch it when we record the podcast, or do you still skip them?
No, I skip it.
I didn't know that. That's very funny.
Or if I think it's important, I'll like put it on like fast. I don't know, put it on fast mode and mute it so I like can kind of see what happens, but I don't really fully watch it.
How did you find this episode then from someone who doesn't like horror? Like, I know this episode, like if you're a horror fan, this episode is very mild, but you know, it's got more of those like visual and aesthetic, like, and like the tropes of like a horror movie. You know, family arrives in the country and there's something haunting their house and it's in the walls and it's chasing them and it's slashed their tires and like all these things. But how did you find this episode as a whole then, if you're the person that skips the murder scene at the beginning?
Well, I also did skip, the part where they like go into the like down in the hole.
Which part? Oh, like initially when they go down, when he goes down with the uncle?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, there's going to be a jump scare because I didn't remember. And usually the other thing with this podcast is that most of the episodes I remember.
Yeah.
So if there's a part that I really hated, I will fast forward it and I remember it, so I can still speak on it. But this one I really didn't remember. So when they like go down into the hole, I think it was Dean.
Yeah, it's Dean and the uncle, Ted.
Yeah, I was like, no, something's gonna jump out, something's gonna happen. So I did the fast forward on fast mode.
Amazing. Actually,
yeah.
I love that. I love that for you. I really liked just how this episode played out. I think it was an interesting play on a lot of those tropes. Like you get like they cram a lot of tropes into one episode. I mean, even like the boy hearing, talking to the quote unquote spirit, I think at that point they think it is. All of those little things. I also thought I really liked the way they characterized this family. I mean, they're like kind of all a bit tropey, but they're one episode characters, so I don't really mind it. Yeah. And it's very like what you would expect from a Monster of the Week horror-y episode. It's got the twist of like, oh, it was not a ghost. It's actually just, kids who had a like psychotic parent.
Yeah. And also like the family who had like gone to move into the house. At first, they're like, it seems like they're just like this perfect family, but then they have their own like secret trauma that comes out as well.
True. Which is also just such a classic horror trope of like family dysfunction, from multiple ends, which is like you're getting 3 versions of it in this episode.
All the family representations.
It's like a cake with layers, but the layers are family trauma. And the result is that the cake sucks.
Yeah.
That's all I really wanted to say on the horror part. I just wanted to talk about it a little. If you have thoughts on the horror, tweet us and tell us your thoughts on the horror in this episode.
Yeah.
Because we are clearly not experts in this. Where's Jen when I need her? Jen knows more about this stuff. So does Jesse. Anyway.
Well.
Hey, we're having fun.
I like how they're moving on to a little lighter note, even though this is a pretty like heavy episode with the things that the brothers are going through and talking about, and just like that it is very horror-esque. There are like little funny moments.
That's what one thing
especially
I
at the beginning.
Yeah. when there's still that illusion of like everything is fine.
Like the beginning where like Sam is like going off, you know, in his Sam way, like spouting off all the facts of whatever. And I think Dean was like said know it all or something.
Yeah, they do their typical banter.
Yes. Yeah.
My favorite instance of like that is the pop culture reference in this episode of, you know, the kid goes, "You hunt ghosts like Scooby-Doo?" And Dean goes, "Better." And he's saying it very sarcastically, but we know from other instances that he likes that, right? He likes that connection.
Yes.
In this episode, he's kind of like, yeah, better. It's like way more fun than Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I like that. I like when, yeah, those kind of episodes. I think that kid is really fun. And he became a bigger-ish actor after this episode.
Oh yeah?
Huge. He was in this is getting into like other stuff, but the actor who plays the kid, Dylan Minnette, he was in like 13 Reasons Why. He's in a bunch of other stuff, nothing else huge, but he's in some horror stuff, like Don't Breathe. Yeah, he's in a few smaller horror-y things, and then he's been like a, you know, cameo guest star on a bunch of shows. So I recognized him, and I was like, why do I recognize him? I don't think I've actually seen very much that he's been in, but he still looks the same now. He just looks older. From when he was like probably a preteen in this role.
Nice.
This episode does lose points because they killed the dog.
Oh yeah, that felt very unnecessary.
More classic like horror, but
yeah, I didn't like it.
Makes me sad. It would. Did you know that Sam, that there's a website called Does the Dog Die? And you can look up pieces of media and just find out if the dog dies.
What? That's hilarious.
Yeah, so God. If you didn't know
That's
about this,
so funny.
folks, doesthedogdie.com. You can check if the movie or TV show you're watching, if the dog survives. This episode, the dog does not survive.
No. Oh, the one thing that I did, the like question that I had about the episode, about like the granddad / the dad, which is just gross. I was thinking, like, why did he choose to like lock her up and have to like feed her?
Both of them too.
Oh right, both. I keep forgetting.
It's so it's like a really.
They kind of gloss over the fact that there was two of them.
I don't even think Dean says it to the.
No, the brother just like appears and then dies.
And then it's kind of like they need it to kind of make the scale, like to tip the scales in the favor of them. Otherwise, they would have just taken the girl out at that point, and then the episode wouldn't have had a climax. But it does feel like they gloss over it a bit.
Yeah, but I'm like, why was the choice lock them up and have to feed them for years and years, and not just like kill them when they were babies?
It's a really good question, because like
if you didn't care about them,
like murder was off the table, but like starving them and turning them rabid and locking them in literally in the walls was acceptable.
Like that's just more effort.
Yeah, and just concerning on like a lot of levels.
Yeah,
just like that. I mean, it's one of those things where Supernatural does that, like where you get to see a death, like the death scene at the beginning, and the death scene is meant to make you go like, oh no, there's a monster loose. That's horrible for this innocent victim. And then in this case, it's not an innocent victim. It's it's the ultimate like kind of perpetrator of this situation, just kind of getting his comeuppance for the horrible things he did. Yeah Again, this episode's very dark. Yeah Interesting choice.
The other thing that I thought was funny was, and I think Dean said this multiple times, more than once, I think, where he made a comment of like, man, humans.
Yeah.
And how like monsters are easy. They're just monsters. They act in a normal monster way. They just kill and whatever. But like humans do this fucked up shit.
There's like almost an exact quote, like replica of that quote from Dean in this episode in The Benders in season 1, where Dean says like, monsters I get, people are crazy. And that's the exact same sentiment. He's like, I don't understand. I can understand the monsters doing shit like this, but when it's people, it's like harder to take. But which is interesting because the line between monsters and people has like been blurred a lot already. And I think that's interesting. Like they're blurring that line. They blur that line with Sam. They blur that line with Dean now, like, in his time in hell.
Oh, and they continued to blur that line throughout the whole show.
Yeah. What makes a monster a monster? Like, who's the actual monster in this episode? Is it the kids? Is it the granddad? Is it on like to flip to another funny line that I just wanted to point out, that when Dean's going down into the walls and he's going, please nobody grab my leg, please nobody grab my leg.
Oh, yeah. That ties in with the whole horror thing, because that is a horror trope. Yes. Of like, oh yeah, of course, something with drag.
Which is why it's funny. He's self-aware. You know, their lives are a horror movie. What is it? I think Sam said that just a few episodes ago when in It's a Great Pumpkin, where Sam goes like, our entire lives are Halloween, Dean. Like, of course I don't like Halloween. Yeah. Self-awareness in horror tropes is fun. Yeah. If you're in a horror scenario, what's the thing that you're like absolutely not doing? Like, because for me, I think it might be lowering myself into a dark space. Like, I will open a dark closet. If I'm planting a thing, I will open a dark closet and look in. I will go around a dark corner. I'm not going to like it, but I'll do it. I don't think I will go feet first into a dark cavern. I don't think I could make myself do it. I hate doing that in normal basements. You know, we had a storage thing when you remember the storage room in our houses when we were kids, and you could go below it, the crawl space. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I hated that. That was the worst. I hated that so much. Yeah. Yeah. You would always have to like bring someone with you. And multiple flashlights. Yeah. And turn all the lights on in all the other rooms around it. Mm-hmm. And all the doors open, and you would like get what you needed and then like run out. Cool. Yeah. But what's the one thing you're not doing in a horror situation? Well, okay. Am I in the horror situation? Am I like hunting? Or am I just like if you're hiding or running away? If you're either one, but am I responsible for like helping solve the problem, or can I just like hide? What that's maybe the first question then. Are you putting yourself in a situation where you're trying to solve the problem, or are you just trying to get the fuck out of there? What do I not do? Like, what's the thing that you are like, that's the thing that freaks me out? Where are you most likely to get jump scared in real life scenario? Actually, people hiding around dark corners was always a great way to jump scare you as a kid. See, here's the thing that I don't understand about myself and horror is you liked that though as a kid. I like jump scares. Oh my God. I remember when we would play hide and seek, it was so fun to jump scare you because you had like huge reactions, but you wouldn't be pissed off afterwards. No, I loved it. Which is why it's so weird to me that I don't like horror, because I don't. You'd rather be jump scared in a real situation than in a television one. Yes. I don't understand why. I think it's the suspense. Right. In a real jump scare, you don't know it's coming. Yes. I like being. Yeah, if I don't know it's coming and I like get a jump scare, I'm like, whew, that was fun. Had a little heart attack. But if I know, if there's suspense involved, anticipation, and the anticipation, I do not. It's the moment before the jump scare. Yeah, that you don't enjoy. It's the knowing it's coming. Yeah. So we've established it's not jump scares. I don't know what I would not do. Yeah. I feel like if I was in a horror situation, I would honestly just hide. Are you hiding or are you trying to escape? Ooh. Because I'm absolutely trying to escape, I think. Like, I think I'm trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. Okay, it depends. If I was by myself, I would hide for sure. If I was with other people and I was like, I wanted to like help other people, then I would probably be like, okay, let's all try to run away. But if it was just me, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm staying put. Right, I'm not moving. I'm hoping that they don't find me. Yeah. See, I think I might be the opposite. I think if there's other people, I want to be like, let's hide, because if there's other people, the chance of us getting spotted feels higher to me. So I'm like, if we all hide, that feels safer. It's just me and I'm only risking myself to like try and get out of there. Oh, that's interesting, because my theory was it's riskier to stay put. That's so interesting. Our risk assessment is totally different. So in a horror situation, let's hope we never find out which of our strategies is better. Yeah. Let's hope we're not in a horror situation together. Or separately. Yeah. Just at all. we're recording this in October, so it's like October 12th. So I felt like this was fun to record now. It's going to be coming out in November, but because we're right before Halloween right now while we're recording.
Yeah.
So I've been like thinking about this, and I'm noticing like there's Halloween stuff everywhere right now. My city has a haunted mini golf that we're going to go try next week, or like in the next couple weeks, which I'm very excited about because my partner loves mini golf and I didn't get to do haunted houses as a kid, and I'm curious about them now as an adult. So I think it'll have something for both of us. I'll get to enjoy the haunted house part and he'll enjoy the mini golf.
There you go. Perfect. Our house is going all out for Halloween this year and I'm so excited. We're gonna like have all the decorations.
Is there a theme other than just Halloween?
No, it's just like dress up. If the weather's nice, we're gonna do like because we have such a big backyard, we're gonna like put a bunch of like candles or like lights, like very dim lights around the backyard and then play hide and seek in the dark.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue. If you are listening to this episode, because it is November and Halloween is over now, tell us on social media what you did for Halloween this year, what you dressed up as, what spooky activities you partook in. Do you have a Halloween tradition that you really love? Share your Halloween stories this week. Feels fitting with this episode, even though it is now November. Yes. Okay, so going meta time, we use this section to track lore, representation, behind the scenes trivia, anything else that we didn't fit into the main episode discussion. So first off, the rep check. So this includes things like the Bechdel test, representations of gender, sexuality, race, class. Any specific thoughts on this episode? It's very tropey, so everyone kind of falls into their like typical role.
Yeah.
You know, the girl is scared and the, mom is emotionally intelligent and the dad's kind of oblivious.
Yeah. And also like, no, you go hide. I'm going to deal with this myself.
I do like that the mom and daughter get a scene of like protecting themselves against the girl for a bit. They do get rescued by one of the boys, which is annoying.
Yeah. They held their own though.
Yeah.
They did.
I think they would have held their own if she had actually made it in.
Yeah.
Not a lot else for this episode.
No, it's very it's classic.
Yeah. It's tropey, but I don't mind it because it's like the horror sort of tropes. And it's because they're one-off characters, I don't feel like they need to be much more three-dimensional than they kind of are, which maybe other people feel differently, but I think I came into this episode with not super high expectations because I didn't remember it either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Mm-hmm. Lore check. Other
than finding out more about what hell was like for Dean, there's not really any lore because there isn't a monster.
No.
Or not a supernatural being.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think we have anything that would go in here. One last thing I wanted to point out in Going Meta is a location that I am familiar with. So it's the end scene at the end when they're talking under the bridge, which is underneath one of our like major highways. And it's very random and specific, but I've like driven under this highway a lot of times on my way. I worked not too far from there. Yeah, you just recognized it, didn't you?
Oh,
you know where that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Abigail pulled up a picture and I was like, what are you talking about? But yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I do know where that is.
In a point that will be not interesting to anyone who is not us. This is a random road that is really in the middle of nowhere. Like it's not near, it's an interesting choice. I think they must have chosen it because the house that they were filming at is also in the same like area generally. So it makes sense that they just chose a nearby kind of location for it. But it does, it's one that I recognized, which I always find fun. Also, you can tell when they were filming because I bet they were filming this in like October because it is October colors. It's October right now. And the colors of this episode, the like where the leaves are at feels like an October sort of filming.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the end of this episode, but Sam, pop quiz. Next episode, season 4, episode 12, Chris Angel is a douchebag. Do you remember what that episode is about? And if you don't, what is your guess based on the title alone?
Oh no.
I also don't remember what this next episode is about.
I don't.
Any guesses based on the title?
I mean, my first thought would be it has something to do with cat.
Oh, because of the angel?
But I don't think that's the case.
I
don't remember.
I honestly don't remember.
Other angels?
Chris, there's an angel named Chris in the next episode.
There's an angel named Chris, and he's a douchebag. That's my guess.
Well, that is as good a place as any. A little preview of our entire lack of memory about the next episode. Yeah, that's all for today. So you can make sure you are subscribed to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to podcasts.
And you can find links to our social media and join our Discord server through our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
Thank you, Sam, for joining me for this special Just Us episode.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun. It was a nice throwback.
Yeah. You can ride along with us next week as we find out what happens in episode 12. Chris Angel is a douchebag, and we're going to talk about it through the theme of desire.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.